Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. What a wild week, huh? Oh my goodness. A huge finish to what has been just a non-stop face-ripping rally. And, we're at what is typically a little bit slower time of the year, but just no slowing down in the overall market. Just some crazy action. Um, and that's good. I hope it continues through next week because we're hitting kind of a lull in earnings. I mean, this past week, these last few days had a lot of new IPOs, some wild moves on those things. But the later we get in June, a little bit quieter things get. And that's kind of just like the quiet before the storm because earnings start up right at the beginning of July. But just the way things fall, a little bit more of like a lull. There are definitely some interesting names, so like you'll see in the video, definitely some interesting ones coming up, some bigger names too, certainly. So plenty to look forward to, but they're just scattered out a little bit wider versus like clustered in busier groups, like we've been accustomed to recently. So first up, Monday before the open, it's a new IPO, a relatively new IPO, Lovesac, but they make it pretty easy for us because there's no options available. So not really anything you can do, right? Can't tell you what's priced in, and personally, not going to do anything with it because there's no options, right? After the close Monday, only Casey's General Store. They're looking for about 7.5 points. Honestly, not a name I've traded very much ever. It doesn't look too compelling. I mean, yes, it has been sideways, but at the same time, it's been sideways for months on end, and it hasn't really moved, and really doesn't have like a fantastic history of big moves when it reports. So, yeah, you could look at it and say, okay, maybe it's due, but I don't really have a particular opinion on this one. I haven't really traded it much in the past. Options are a little bit thinner, so probably just something I'll leave alone. Tuesday before the open, H&R Block. So this could be interesting. Obviously not like a go-to trading name, but this is typically the most volatile quarter of the year. This is the tax season, right? So you've had over the last few years some of its biggest moves have come this this quarter. So they're looking for about two and a quarter, right? You can see last June, so that was the tax season, had a really sharp drop, and then actually, if I go back, you can see here. So the June prior to that had a really big pop. So it's not a name that I'll trade very often, but it's like retailers in the holiday season, right? H&R Block for the tax season. So could be worth the move. At the same time, it's been in kind of like a range, so it would have to probably be pretty good or pretty bad. But if so, there's a well-defined gap up to like 30, and then obviously support down to like the 23 area. So right there, that's like $3 to $4 either way. Only priced it in two and a quarter, so something to keep an eye on. Tuesday after the close, Dave and Buster's PLAY. So they're looking for about 4.5 on this one. It's actually the only name scheduled too. It's probably the only reason I'm talking about it because honestly, it hasn't really been a consistent mover. The chart doesn't really look too compelling one way or the other, right? It hasn't really done much in several years. So, again, kind of like Casey's General Store. This is not really a name I've traded in the past. Really haven't had a lot of success with it. Don't like the chart one way or the other. And I mean, the options aren't too bad. It's had some bigger moves, right? So here and then actually last June it was about $7, but I don't know. I just don't have like a great feel for it, so probably something I'll just leave alone too. Wednesday before the open, there's actually not a single name scheduled. Wednesday after the close, though, it's kind of the main event for next week. So Lulu, one of the big ones. So this is pricing in about 17.5 points or so, which obviously seems like a lot, but at the same time, it moved about 25 last quarter, so definitely moved quite a bit more than that. Honestly, it's coming off a really impressive report. Actually, like the last couple of reports have been super impressive. The growth numbers are really great, and this has hung in pretty well, even while a lot of retail has been wrecked. So seems like seems like this could be like a go-to retailer. Just good numbers, strong price action. Um, so I'm thinking bullish, but probably would have to be some sort of strategy to get the debit down. Because maybe you get a move into like the low 180s or even like 180 range just to retest the high. So probably would have to get the debit down. So maybe spreads or flies or something along that line. Also, another one. This could be the wildest one of the week, in my opinion. It's Restoration Hardware. So they're pricing at about 13 and a half. Um, and just, it's kind of been all over the place the last few quarters. So huge pop, huge drop, huge pop, huge drop. Um, so right there alone, I mean, it kind of sets the tone, right? They're pricing at 13 and a half, like I said, coming off an ugly guide. They're gonna have probably issues with the tariffs, and technically this thing is under pretty key support. So it's got a pretty well-defined gap below. It's got another gap underneath that. It's got plenty of room higher, heavily shorted, has a history of wild moves. So, multiple things indicating this could be a pretty big mover. So I'm thinking a volatility strategy, but maybe skewed more to the bear side, just after the way last quarter played out, and a lot of like the escalating tariffs could weigh on this one too. So thinking slightly more bearish, but yeah, volatility strategy on this one. Thursday before the open, Duluth Trading. So may or may not be familiar with this. Great commercials, but pretty bad stock. Got destroyed last quarter and literally hasn't had like an uptick. It's pricing in 2 points. And what's interesting is that if you go back long enough, you'll see that it's kind of creeping down into the low from the IPO. And another bad report could put that in play, and then it could really get ugly underneath that. So the way the way this is acted since last report was bad. Feel like speculative short might be the way to go with this. Maybe with like a target down and retesting that IPO low. All right, Thursday after the close. So market cap wise, this is easily the biggest name of the week. Broadcom. They're pricing in about 15 and a half in that ballpark. Just had a really nice move off its May low, but obviously it's still down a lot off its high from May. The problem with Broadcom, it's not necessarily like the stock problem. It's like the sector, right? It's the chip stocks have just been really tough this quarter, because the numbers haven't been particularly great, and a lot of like the trade tensions weigh on this group more so than others. So I've avoided a lot of the chip stocks recently, and as much as I think that this could be a mover and it's one of the biggest names next week, it's just like a tough setup. Just a lot of mixed signals, and I'm thinking maybe what I'll watch to see if over the next few days there's like a really sharp drop or really another big move higher, maybe into like the high 280s right here, or if it rolls back down into like the 260 to 255 area, then maybe like take a shot on it for like a trade the opposite way. But right here, maybe not do anything with it, or if anything, maybe like a bearish calendar spread. So maybe like sell near-term premium to buy longer-term premium, thinking that it could have a retest of this low, especially if the market pulls back and trade tensions remain elevated. That's what I'm thinking on Broadcom. And that's it. So nothing scheduled on Friday. And as you can see, not a ton of names next week, but definitely some interesting names. And the way we're moving in the overall market, I mean, plenty of opportunity for swings, and before you know it, earnings season's going to be here. So just still a ton of stuff to focus on, still a ton of stuff to do. It's just you shift expectations, or you shift your strategy maybe from catalyst heavy around earnings season to more swing heavy, and then as we get towards July, then it's going to turn back into like catalyst heavy, right? So that's just like the nature of catalyst trading. All right. So I hope you guys have a absolutely fantastic weekend. It's summer, so enjoy the summer, enjoy the weather. For those of you traveling, safe travels. And I will talk to you all on Monday.